Hello, this is Dale Matthews. It's Inside News, and we have Mike Jones with us. Aren't we lucky? Hello, Mike. I feel lucky.
Hey, Dale. How's it going?
It's going real good. Okay, so there was a meeting of the Board of County Commissioners in Williams on Thursday, and they were talking about marijuana. They called it a town hall. Mm-hmm. That was Thursday in Williams. It's this upcoming Tuesday in Wolf Creek. The next week, it'll be on Thursday, it'll be in the Ann Basker Auditorium, and a week from Tuesday, the following Tuesday, it'll be in Cave Junction. Got all that? Well, we'll keep telling you about it. Anyway, Thursday, I came with a camera to Williams. I'll tell you that at the beginning of the meeting, there were 4 or 5 people that came up and shook my hand and patted me on the back. They liked the show, or they've heard about the show, or they know that we're following the county commissioners and trying to hold them accountable. By the end of the meeting, I said a couple of brief things. I was surrounded by people that were patting me on the back and happy to talk to me, and et cetera, et cetera. And then Lily Morgan walked up and wanted to talk to some people about her views about marijuana and et cetera. The other candidate who was there was Bill Hunker. And so I would say, in general, a good time was had by all. No, that's not exactly right. But the good news is, and it's astounding to me, I mean, it's enough to make you stop and catch your breath. The Daily Courier actually got the story right. Even their headline is pretty close to accurate. Pot farmers not interested in any new rules. I would say that they were interested in the new rules. They just didn't want the commissioners to impose rules on them beyond what the state says. And then the subhead says, angry voices, this is true, suspicious about motives and other concerns dominate meeting in Williams. That's right. The Courier got it right, and it's Sean Hall that wrote the article, and Kevin Whittison, supposedly, who wrote the headline. It's amazing. So, well, wonders never cease. The Courier got it right. Yeah. Okay. So, some 20 minutes into the meeting, here's Keith Hicks sitting next to Cheryl Walker, and he's really got nothing to say. He hasn't said a single word. At the meeting were Cheryl Walker doing half the talking at a town hall. That's nice. And then Keith Hicks saying almost nothing. And then Wally Hicks did more talking than Keith Hicks did when called upon. You had the county treasurer, Eve Arce, there, and making a special guest appearance, was just saying a couple of words, was the new planning director. And she was over in the corner. So there was some firepower at this meeting to back Cheryl Walker's plan. Well, about 20 minutes into the meeting, Cheryl finally remembers to turn to Keith Hicks and say, do you have anything to add? Here's how that went, and it just shows you one of the axioms that Mike Jones tells us occasionally on this show. Here we go.
I just wanted to give you a history as to where the things that we had done over the last couple of years, and now as leading into that, the segue in regards to looking at the rural residential. I know there was a lot of discussion because it was posted out there about this issue that was brought up on Wednesday for the board, thinking that there was some kind of a vague restriction or some kind of vague regulation that was going to take place as a result of that. That was simply authorizing our planning department to go forward and gather data, to put something together, to see if maybe we can't do anything because we have agriculture uses on rural residential. Maybe we can't. We don't know that. So that's what we're asking them to do. Okay, do you have any comment you'd like to add, Commissioner Henry?
The only thing I would ask y'all is, are you comfortable with having this camera facing in your face?
No,
or you want it off to the side?
That's dumb.
Okay, well, I mean, nobody cares, that's fine. I just, some people might feel uncomfortable.
Everybody's got a phone in here with a camera.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, as the fellow said, everyone's got a phone in here with a camera.
Yeah.
20 minutes in. This is the thing that has been working on Keith Heck's mind. This is a marijuana town hall, and it's the number one issue on his mind. It's the first thing that he said after 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that's Keith Heck. So what was Cheryl's plan? You said she was voicing a plan. What was the plan?
Yeah, basically what she was trying to tell the crowd is, and we've heard this many times, Mike knows this, is don't worry about all the things we're saying and the plans we're making. Just wait kind of to the last moment, and then once we announce what the plan is, then you can talk about, why are you so worked up? Why are you giving it now?
And by the time you get the cue to organize, then they will have already passed it, and they'll say, well, I'm sorry, you should have said something earlier.
Right. And we've argued many times that the time to speak up as soon as you know that they're planning it, because I believe that this group of county commissioners has a plan ahead of time. You think they come into a meeting and they haven't formulated any idea of what they want to do?
No, the time to begin shooting a plan down is when it first materializes behind their eyeballs. That's when you start working on that. Yes.
By the way, Mike, your picture looks so much better this evening. What are you doing differently? Are you combing your hair different?
and now that you say that, my camera went automatically back into demo mode. As you see, it has a very nice Carl Zeiss lens and a 30 power extended zoom. I will switch back over to the other camera.
Mike's going to work on that, and for the time being, I'll just play back videos and talk about them, and Mike can talk about them. You just can't see him. You'll just have to take my word for it. He's actually there, or somebody named Carl Zeiss is there. Okay, so hello, welcome back, Carl. Oh, yes. What's that? It looks like a rear view mirror.
Yeah, what that is that's the camera that I just put back in place, and I'm going to switch to here in a moment or two. Yeah, my camera, the other camera is going in and out of demo mode, so we'll just unload that here.
This is going to be a meeting. No, it won't be a meeting. What will it be? Let's see. It'll be a show that's made up of different ways of showing things to you. And that this next clip that I have is actually 10 little clips, and we'll see how well that goes. So there were a number of places where this meeting in Williams took twists and turns. Honestly, Cheryl Walker let the meeting go on a little too long because the opposition, as you saw in the Courier, was there, and there were people doubtful. Gee, why would they be doubtful of this group of county commissioners? They were a bit doubtful about it all, but they were kind of accepting most of it. But the longer the meeting went on, the more people were saying, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to make any sense. And the cumulative effect by the end, well, you'll see, they took a vote. Here's Cheryl Walker trying to lead the meeting.
Gentleman in the back.
I've been watching Jackson County go through this exact same cycle for the last 6 months now. Our elected and appointed servants decided to have this meeting you had last night, where they allowed Tracy Manning or Kelly Manning to accumulate information and decide whether or not she was going to suggest more restrictive guidelines for the planning department for growing. She went through, she collected a lot of information. She had tens of thousands of bits of information that came in. Very few of them were against marijuana growing. She chose to go against marijuana growing. The council decided to go against marijuana growing. And so far we voted one of them out. They're finding out that we're a group of people with a lot of money, a lot of time on our hands. And you're taking away our right to farm, and we will take your right to work away. And that's where we're at right now, is that you are threatening our livelihoods, and you're threatening our way of life by coming in and imposing laws that aren't necessary. The state and the Fed make enough laws that impose enough restrictions upon us. Have our own local people trying to put more laws upon us is a spit in our face. So you have to understand, when we see you in public for the next 6 months while you're doing this, if we don't appreciate you at all.
The only thing I can say, there's a difference between Jackson and Josephine County.
Not much.
I'm correct on this, and that they have a different rate of passage on 91. They can do that, and we can't. Is that right?
Oh,
they have 55%, correct?
I've got the. No, the counties that, I think it's the counties here, but Jackson.
I can't hear now. Okay.
Now, that fellow was first, or almost first, and he pretty much set the tone for most of the meeting. Now, he also mentioned, Mike, that somebody named Kelly Madding, Madding, she's the Jackson County, what they call Development Services Manager. Right, whatever. Anyway, that's that fellow seemed to embody what most of the crowd said by the end. He was a little earlier than everybody else. Maybe he was worked up by the meeting the night before in Jackson County, but people were not exactly agreeing with his way of looking at things at the beginning of the meeting. But as the meeting kept going, more and more of them came over to that suspicious point of view about what's going on here. Well, one of the questions might be that the big elephant in the room, obviously, to a lot of people, is that Cheryl Walker and Simon Hare have an agreement to grow hemp. Now, Cheryl Walker just got the okay to grow medical marijuana as well. Okay, so well, that could be potentially good news for growers in the area because maybe they'll see things from their point of view. The only problem is that their land, the land that they're using, Cheryl and Simon, is an exclusive farm use land. And most of these people are concerned about rural residential 5 acres, RR5. If you make it harder for people to grow on RR5, it makes those who are growing on exclusive farm use, EFU land, that much more in a superior position as far as money goes.
Right. And that's true. And you know what? Listen, it's weird that we tend to look at things through our own filter, and we don't think about people that have other objections to this. We met some today who had moral objections to the marijuana thing, and they're still battling it on that front. I have sympathy for that, but the thing is that now you've got a legal product situation. You have, a bunch of people deciding whether or not, how they're going to grow it. There's already a ton of people growing in this county, ostensibly legally. And so if the county came up with some, ordinance that shut down marijuana growing in the county, everybody who came in here and bought property specifically for the purpose of, cultivating marijuana for sale is going to have a case against the county somehow. And, this is tricky ground. Personally, I think the ship has sailed, and what you got to do is you have to deal with conflicts, between landowners and, neighbors and things like that on a case-by-case basis. And, stop trying to get in there and tweak this around too much. I just think that you ultimately, listen, the marijuana is going to be here. Okay, so you lost your battle for, saving the morality of Josephine County. So now, this is just a legal situation about who gets to do what. And with the county stepping in and wanting to regulate stuff, generally speaking, I'm a no regulation kind of guy. I think, the government that regulates the least governs best. And so I'd hate to see more of that going on, regardless of whether or not I have an agreement with,
the moral
the moral standing of growing marijuana.
Right. Just for my part for this evening, so that you all know, I mean, you're used to watching this and hearing about the nuts and bolts. It certainly can be said in Josephine County that we're a rather monochromatic society, right? You don't see a lot of brothers walking the streets and, in Josephine County. Therefore, you'll notice that I have a lot of black in between these video inserts. So we can put up with a little bit of that because we use a little diversity on this show.
Oh my God. Okay. Whatever.
A little too much black here. Come on now. Let's go. Oh my gosh.
We have land use laws, and that's what we're asking our planning department to look at, is to look at our land use laws, because we are, as I said early on, unique in the fact that we allow agricultural activity on our rural residential zone.
Allow it.
So it may be, as you suggest,
Yeah.
under the right to farm, that we won't be able to do anything. So that's part of what the investigation is going to be. That's what we're looking into. I don't want people to misconstrue what we passed on Wednesday to be any kind of a regulatory type of thing. It's an investigatory type of thing, because we're trying to
Wait
gather.
a minute. Wait. I don't want you to perceive that what we pass on Wednesday is any sort of regulation. Well, you're passing something by definition that's a regulation.
What they passed was, and why they even bothered to do this, they're giving instructions to the planning department to go gather more information about how much they can curtail, regulate, stop, slow down, and sit on top of a legal industry in this county. Mm-hmm. And what they're saying is, because for some reason they brought that to the weekly business session, don't get upset about that. We're just giving instructions at a weekly business session to the planning department to look into this. And as I've said on previous shows, there are certain things that there are groups of people that prefer that you don't bring up for discussion. What? You don't want something brought up for discussion? Okay, let's talk about, we're going to barbecue your children, and we want to talk about what flavor of barbecue sauce to use. Well, we're just having a discussion. What's the matter with you?
Right.
It depends on your point of view.
Naturally.
These meetings is to find out.
Impose more restrictions.
Pardon?
You guys had a meeting yesterday to decide whether or not it was okay for you guys to decide whether or not it was okay to impose more restrictions upon us. That's what you had the meeting about yesterday. It was, hey guys, do you guys want to get together and impose some more restrictions? Yeah, let's put some feelers out there and see what happens. You didn't have to do that.
No, but we do have, we don't have to do that, but like I said.
You opened up a door to something that is a waste of
Okay,
time.
enough. I've explained it, because we have half the people yes and half the people no. We're trying to find a balance. And if we did not do our due diligence for those people who said no, they would be as upset as you would be if we just said, you give your answer and block you out. We can't block out half the population without doing our due diligence of investigations. I thought I saw another hand.
Thought I saw another hand. Mike, now what's wrong with this argument of half the people said yes and half the people said no? Okay. And so we're going to investigate some kind of regulations that would stop you from being able to do your business. What's the matter with that?
Well, listen, then theoretically, then, if, let's say that the entire state voted on a sales tax and, it didn't pass in Josephine County, that would be us arguing for the fact that, hey, we don't want to charge sales tax. It didn't win here, so we're not going to do it. That's the thing is that Measure 91, like it or not, listen, I'm not arguing for it. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care about marijuana one way or the other. If they made it illegal tomorrow, zero impact on me. Thank you very much. But bottom line is that this was a statewide, on the ballot statewide. And it passed statewide, even though it lost in Josephine County by 1 vote or something like that. Some crazy 2 votes. Okay, sorry, 2 votes. The bottom line is that here we are.
Well, here's the thing. Let's suppose that Donald Trump, a Republican, wins the presidential election. And there would be people in the United States who feel, okay, now that he's won it, well, that's the will of the people. There are other people who feel, now that he won that, let's figure out what kind of restrictions we can put on him to make it impossible for him to govern. What? Why would you do that except just because it's sour grapes?
Oh, yeah, but whoa. I don't think you really want to go there, Dale, because that's what happens in Washington, D.C.
I don't like it.
Especially when there's a Republican in power. You know what's funny? Is that Democrats, you got to give them credit for this. They understand how to govern. You may not like the way they govern, but they understand how to do it. And when you win, you say, shut up and get in the corner. And that's what they do. When they're in the majority, they say, well, we don't need the Republicans. We're going to walk all over them and we're going to do what we want to do, and it's none of their business. We don't even care. And the press does not hold them accountable. What does happen, though, if Republicans are in the majority, they are the victimizers at every turn. And so bottom line is that, that was a bad example because
can I get out of the corner now? Because when you said it that way, that really had a
well, listen, gee, I didn't realize that my words were that powerful. I would use them more often.
Okay, here's some more powerful words from the audience and Cheryl Walker. Black, too much black. Oh my gosh.
Racist. You're so racist.
Just
What's
enough.
going on here, Dale?
I'd like to really thank you guys for allowing us to grow agriculturally on our own properties that we own. And thank you so very much. I kind of consider that my God-given right, but I'd like to talk about the setbacks and fencing requirements. I live on a road called the Trees Drive, and it's appropriately named. The only open area for any growing of my vegetable garden or my cannabis is right on my south border. Now, a setback of even 25 feet would just about wipe out my entire growing space on my property. And on the other side of that property that I have to have a setback and a fencing requirement from is another cannabis grower. You're going to find that quite common out here. There's quite a few of us out here in that type of situation. In fact, 3 of my neighbors on surrounding properties of my property are all cannabis growers. It seems quite ridiculous to be fencing and having setbacks from another cannabis grower. What's the use in this? Also, setbacks and fencing from national forest or BLM property seems pretty ridiculous too, especially if it has no public access. Are you taking these things into consideration when you're writing up these things?
That has been one of the discussions, because one of the suggestions that I had made when I was talking with legal counsel one day was that in talking about setbacks, that if you had permission from a neighbor, then that would be waived. If we were to pass a setback, remember, these are all discussions at this point in time. So, but that was one of the discussions I had with legal counsel, was if there was an adjoining neighbor and the two of you agreed, then that setback would be waived. So, there are ways to work with it if we go there.
You gotta understand, you just been seeing everything that's been going on in Jackson County, and we're able to see that kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? We really aren't paying a whole lot of attention as to how Jackson.
We are.
It's not good when the audience is laughing at you.
Yeah.
But I would also point out that this is something that the county commissioners have talked about if you go work it out with your neighbor, I like that solution, then you can get a special permission from the planning director. Let me just put in one more thing. Channel 5 was at this meeting, and they set up their camera. This is inside baseball again. They set up their camera so that they would get the county commissioners in the center of the screen. It's county commissioners, what they say, that's the story. County commissioners speak. I set up my camera so I'd see the audience, because this is a town hall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking over a shoulder. I'm interested in what the people say. Channel 5, not so much. So anyway, yeah, it really started to go a bit downhill after this point, and you will see in the footage here that there was a lot of black. Here we go. Yep, there it is. It was a dark and stormy night.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do it like this again.
Oh, I think I know what's happening here.
Okay. Yeah, I cut it up, but I left too much black in between. So we're getting there. You'll just have to take my word for it. Let's take a look.
This was on Wednesday, is authorizing the planning director to initiate land use applications to amend the rural land development code. And what that means is that we didn't have an individual applying. We're asking the planning director to undertake this process. We have to authorize her to do this. So there has no decision been made yet as to what will or will not be done, if anything, until we get that
If
information.
anything.
So she's going to be conducting that investigation for consideration.
One other quick question, and I just was reading my local input, but there's a differentiation between farming practices and agriculture, I believe legally, and you're saying that you're allowing agricultural use, and I thought farming was commercial and agriculture was more for home use. Is that correct?
You know of any such distinction?
No, so, yeah, I think what you're asking is whether there's a difference between agriculture and farming.
Well, they have. The state does differentiate.
And so the county does, not in a way that I think is relevant here.
So
I mean, what we have is,
definition.
yeah, so you've got different zones in the county. There's rural residential, and then there's exclusive farm use. And so, yeah, on a exclusive farm use, it's going to be called farming. And you can do a lot more agriculture on an exclusive farm use zone. Rural residential, you can do agriculture. It's an outright permitted use. And so I guess in that sense, yeah, there's a bit of a difference. You could call it
Right,
farm
so-
agriculture, but it probably doesn't.
And so the state called cannabis a farm product because it's more commercial, but it also becomes extractor medical. And so you're saying you're allowing agriculture use. Does that mean that you can create a cottage industry and a business out of it, can you sell your products on agricultural use, on rural residential?
When the agriculture provision was allowed in the county code for rural residential, the reasoning behind that was because we had so many people that were growing vegetables and they wanted to take them to growers markets. And so it was allowed for agricultural purposes for that reason. The state has now designated marijuana as an agricultural use, as a crop, agricultural crop. So because we have in our code, it says agriculture, and that says agriculture, then that is what we have to allow in our zoning. Okay. So because we do, and most counties apparently don't, to the best of my knowledge, we are somewhat unique in that manner, that how are we going to be able to handle it? And that's partially why I think the state did the time, place, and manner type of provision, because every county's codes are a little different. And that's why we have to look at it. We can't pattern ourselves after any other county. We're kind of breaking new ground here. And breaking that new ground, we're wanting you to help us break that new ground.
Here's where my input comes in. I would suggest that the county, rather than passing these blanket laws that affect some people negatively and maybe others positively or whatever, to do it more on a case-by-case basis, but don't pass any laws. Just set up a county agency that if neighbors can't work it out on their own, they can come to the county and one of them who's not happy with the situation, and then you can mediate between people if needed. But otherwise, people will work it out. And this whole thing, I know it's new and prohibition and all that, but it's going to work itself out. We don't have to freak out and pass all these laws. We can't legislate it anyway. There's going to be problems, and it's going to be.
Hey, Dale?
My input would be just to provide.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mike.
Hey, I like what that guy's saying, and to me, this is very, very interesting situation, because it's like in the beginning of, the capitalist way, everybody could do basically what they wanted to. And then you have these restrictions jumping in. Now, people who have a moral objection to this, they're not going to like me and what I'm saying here because they have their moral objection and I want to be heard. When I'm watching this, I see Cheryl talking to them. I don't see any representative of the morally outraged that marijuana is there. Were there any of those people there? And what exactly sort of restrictions and on whose behalf is Cheryl presenting these things?
That's a really good question, Mike. And the other thing that comes up on the other side of that scale is how many meetings have I sat in when I've heard them talking about restrictions and regulations and trying to, let's slow this down, let's figure out, what we're going to permit them to do. I have not heard them one time, not once, talk about, how can we encourage this growth industry? Now, whether you like it or not, it is a growth industry. What can we do to encourage an industry that's bringing a ton of money into the... No economic development money is going to be spent on this. That's why, one last point, when they're talking about where the tax money is going to go, you'll hear they say, and we say it on this show before, that, they're going to have law enforcement get involved with law enforcement. Why don't you have economic development figure out what's going to happen with the money? It's all punitive.
Yeah, I don't even know about that personally.
Well, but I understand your point. But if you're going to have such a thing, then why is it that not a single word I've ever heard about encouraging this? We're not really stopping you. We're only regulating you. Well, what about promoting it?
Well, first of all, and they shouldn't do that either.
Well, I got you.
We're not the marijuana county, okay? That's not who we are. What we are is Josephine County, and I think they should stay the hell out of the business. And if you're looking around this room here, and all of these people here we are with a burgeoning industry here, and we're going to figure out how to regulate it and how to put the kibosh on these things. And you can see what's happening to all these people there. Now, I would submit to you that has already happened to every other business in the county. And they've been stacked upon by the state and the federal on top of that. So if you want to help the economic development of the county, why don't you figure out all of the things that you're not doing to marijuana right now that you're thinking of doing to marijuana, and then look at how you've already done that thing to every other business in the county and take your foot off their neck.
Okay, all right, let's look at some of the things where we're bringing in some money. We've got wild river rafting kind of stuff. People occasionally die in that river. I mean, that river is not exactly what you consider to be the safest of it happens all the time. Well, not all the time, but it does happen. But do you hear about the commissioners having all these meetings where they're going to figure out what kind of restrictions they can put on travel on the river? You know that they're going to try to be safe. Or the wine industry. You'll hear somebody maybe tomorrow bring up the idea of, well, wait a minute, we've got the wine industry. People drink wine, they get out on the road, they drunk drive, they maybe beat their wife or whatever. I mean, it's not all happy with wine, but where are all the fences around the wine?
I grew up in Napa County. Let me tell you, the highway patrol in our county makes a crap load of money off of pulling people over and sending touristas down to the county jail for the night. That's it's a revenue stream. They probably camp out in the logical places where they're going to encounter these people on the road, and there's a lot of them.
Stream, and it's trickling down on the community. And this is a growth industry that is legal. I don't want it, but it's a growth industry that's legal. And I think it would be refreshing to hear the commissioners talk a little bit about, if you're going to put out a brochure, and I understand you don't think that they should, got that. But if you're going to put out a brochure saying, come and do a tour of the wine industry, and there are religious objections to drinking too much wine. Catholics, notwithstanding. So that's really grape juice. And so if you're going to put out a brochure about the wine industry, where's your brochure about the cannabis industry? Should there never be one?
Yeah, there should never be one. I think, listen, I don't believe that they don't need to be in the business of promoting the business here.
No,
Do you not think this is going to be lucrative enough for these people? I believe they're going to be swimming in liquid cash.
I understand you completely, but if Keith Eck is going to get up time after time, sit there at a weekly business session and remind us that there is a growers market taking place in Grants Pass, or occasionally now at the fairgrounds. There's a growers market because people are bringing their stuff there, or go down to the fair because 4-H kids are selling
that stuff is stupid too. Listen,
I got you, Mike, but I'm saying if they're going to...
Nobody's watching that either.
I'm saying if they're going to promote that,
whatever.
then how come they're stepping on these guys? I agree. Maybe they shouldn't do either one, but that's not what I'm trying to say at this point.
Yes. Okay. I think that it would be good just because, history is replete with examples of meddling on one way or the other. Either you're heavily for something or you're heavily against something. It's not government's role. Okay. Yes. And I think that these people can generate enough attention all by themselves.
I'm with you.
In Napa County, the county doesn't do any of it. They don't need to, because all of these wineries have marketing departments, and they too are flush with money. And so listen, I just wish we could all be free, and that we could do what is in our interests to do until we negatively impact somebody else, and then have that, negotiated, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Arbitrated somehow.
Okay, we're running out of time, but I really want to talk with you about this, Mike. Okay. Because what I was talking about is if you're going to do one, you should do the other. You're saying you should do neither. I'm with you on that. I'm completely with you. But here, going back to something we talked about before, and we'll do more of this tomorrow.
But you want to have the county, have some sort of a promotion campaign for marijuana because
not really.
Keith
going to do one.
Go over and visit the growers market, for God's sakes.
No, I'm saying if you're going to do one, it's not fair that you would do that and then punish the others.
Well, listen, hey. I have empty units in my building. I think they should talk about that, because you know what? I need a little income over there. I could use a little exposure. My empty commercial unit, 2,000 square feet. Hey, it's very competitive rates that I rent out. They should talk about that. I think they should talk about that.
We had this discussion before about giving a grant. This is a gift to Rogue Roasters. Okay, Rogue Roasters is in direct competition with Dutch Brothers. And so my argument at the time...
Not that Dutch Brothers will ever notice it.
Don't give it to either one. I agree with you. But I'm saying if you're going to give a gift to one, what about all the others? That's the only point I have.
That's why you don't do it in the first place. Good
exactly.
Lord.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. Okay, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was going back again to the people who lost this vote on a statewide basis, won the vote on a county basis by 2 votes. Okay, so they say, well, I have a moral objection to marijuana. Okay, I don't use it either. I obviously do have that for myself. I just don't want to inhale any kind of smoke, including cigarette smoke. That being the case, should I then insist that something that is chosen to be legal, that I would encourage my commissioners to put as many restrictions on it as they can? Well, wait a minute. What if my feeling is that all cars should be electric? Should I encourage my county commissioners and the state to put as many restrictions on cars that drive around with gasoline as possible? Because I don't like gasoline cars.
Okay, this is I like where you're going, and here is a perfect example of that. You remember several months ago that we talked about the city wanting to regulate these vaping stores.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where they have the e-liquid. And they wanted to classify all of that as cigarettes so that it's controlled in the same way. Who do you think is pushing that? And here we are in little podunk Grants Pass, Oregon. That is coming all the way down from a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., comes over, hits Salem, comes down here and starts putting pressure. All of these cities, counties, states, whatever, are starting to regulate this stuff as though it were cigarettes because they want to cut back on the competition against tobacco companies who have a lot of money that they're throwing at Washington, D.C. Isn't that sickening? You know, here we got some guys, and listen, I'm fairly familiar with this because my son and his friends were into the vaping thing. I'd much rather they were into that than smoking itself, actually, because I've done a little bit of research on it. I don't think it's great. I much like it much better if he's not doing it. And he's about to go to Japan, and he doesn't want that encumbrance there. He doesn't want to be bothering anybody with anything, so he's leaving that behind. I say that's good. But bottom line is that we, on the basis of a new product coming into the marketplace, people saw that and they seized the opportunity. And what can our city and county not wait to do but to come down, put the kibosh on their action, and some little guy who's no doubt struggling for the time that it takes time to get a business up and running. You know, you have to get out there, people have to know where you're at, and you have to start gaining some market share there. This is going to be very, very difficult for them because if not totally put them out of business, because now you've invited state government and city government inside their business to look at everything they're selling and go, oh, let me see your books. Where are you getting this nicotinized product here? And, how much is in it? Do you have something from a lab that says, certifies that it's this level? I mean, it never, ever ends. The price of doing that as an alternative to cigarettes is going to go through the roof. And from what I know from some people that I know personally who gave up smoking to do that, their lungs cleared up. Now, I don't know that it's greatly a whole lot better, but I do believe that it is better. And it's their choice. It's their alternative, for crying out loud. And here's government coming in here trying to save you from yourself. That hurts the economy, and it lessens your choices to do what you want to do with your own life. I object.
There are some very sincere people in our community who are totally convinced that the next step past e-cigarettes is straight to opium.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but do you realize that you could put opium or opioids into an e-cigarette and we'd never know what you were smoking?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. There are oils that you can put in these e-cigarettes, but there have been for a long time. And I don't know what the stats are in terms of, how many people are using that sort of a product in the schools. And, I don't know what that is. Listen, I'm sorry that I am sick and tired of government trying to make me safe. Okay. They're not going to do it. And by the way, I've instilled a sense of what is right and wrong in my son because I love him, and that has become part of his program that he goes throughout the rest of his life. Now he's fully self-reliant and he's out there in the world on his own. And I do not worry about his safety because he has a good head on his shoulders. Now, that is all I need. I don't need the government to be trying to save me from everything. If there was some sort of an epidemic that was actually hurting, actually killing people, I'd be the first guy to be out there, slaying dragons. But that's not what's going on in this particular situation.
You mean like roads that are causing more deaths than homicides in our area?
Oh, and listen, this is very interesting because soon here I have to go to California again. I have business to do down there. And I'm going to show you what bad roads look like. I just recently got one of these, it's a
Dash cams?
Dash cam. That's right. And here today, this dash cam has a button on it that you can press that will, as soon as you press the button, it makes a log of 10 seconds before you push the button and 10 seconds after, and it sets that in a separate file so that you can then pull it out later.
Wait a minute. How the heck
notable
does it
happens?
make a log of 10 seconds before you press the button?
Well, okay, this is very, very simple because it's a camera that's constantly rolling. So all it does is it puts a marker 10 seconds before you push the button. That's all.
Okay, all right. Well, I want one of those.
It's not a big deal. So when you pass me
half
today,
an hour before I press the button. Go ahead.
Well, that could be programmed in probably. But when you pass me on 6th Street today, I push the button and here's what that looked like.
Oh, cool.
That's you up in the your tail lights are on, and then the car's in front, but you're about to turn right on M Street coming up. You see as we're getting close there, and there's Dale, and now you just turned right on M Street. There he goes. That's a cool little thing. Now, you can spend as much money as you want to on these dash cams, and if you spend a few more bucks, it will have. You can have this picture with a map and the GPS location where you're at all the time too. So.
That's great. Now I have people following me around. People from the government tracking my every movement.
That's
as if
right.
I don't already have that. That's nice. Well,
but I'm going to use this, and I'm going to show you what bad roads look like, because California has decided not only have they raised the gas tax over the moon, but now they raid those funds on a regular basis and use it for whatever and short the roads fund. And if you get out in rural areas where, you don't have as many people to cry and gripe to the government about how they're maintaining the roads look like hell. And let me tell you, I grew up in this one area and the roads have never been as bad as they are right now. It's disgusting. And it's a criminal. It's criminal. It's evidence of a criminal activity.
Wow.
By George.
Well, now we had intended to play this entire meeting this evening, but now we're going to go over into tomorrow as well and push that one a day back. We're going to need to, what we had planned on doing. So we will share more of this with you. There's more excitement to come. And then there's also a report that we're going to show you from KGW in Portland, where they're talking about someone that has been grabbed up by the federal government, a teenager, and charged with marijuana possession. So,
hey Dale, I'm getting a straight image from you, but non-moving image, I should say. There we go.
I am straight, not that that there's anything wrong with that. We will show you that tomorrow night. So we will continue this story ad nauseum. So you got that to look forward to.
Until you're really, really sick of it.
Right. And then if you do find at that point that you are feeling rather nauseous, there's always a legal product in this area that you can imbibe that will help you feel a little bit better. I've heard.
Oh, man, Dale.
Yeah, all right. Well, good night, everybody.